It's just not right how few female directors we have.
Out of the 60 or so films that I've made, I can count the women directors on one hand.
What is going on behind the camera? Who's making these decisions?
Stop saying that there's not enough qualified women. They're out there.
Women are more than half of the world.
We have a real way of seeing the world that is not necessarily separate from men, but we have a point of view.
Isn't it going to be a richer, better experience in the movies if we get to hear from other people?
Just for our culture's sake, not, let alone the individuals whose dreams I want to come true.
The next Kubrick, in no one's mind, is a woman. No one. No one believes the next Scorsese is a woman.
It's just like with black and white. We've been conditioned to believe it to be one way.
You don't want to be too defined by the stereotypes of what a director is.
Instead of, having like a million panels about it, let's do something about it.
Films that I'd loved, films that had moved me, I was suddenly watching with different eyes. Instead of being absorbed into the screen, into the story, into the mise en scène and the beauty of the cinema, I was irritated. And instead of being an absorbed spectator, a voyeuristic spectator, a male spectator as it were, I suddenly found I'd become a woman spectator who watched the film from a distance and critically, rather than with those absorbed eyes.
The woman you just heard is Laura Mulvey, the pioneer of the feminist film movement and the writer of the most famous critical film essays among cinephiles, Visual Pleasure and the Narrative Cinema.
The TUC is in favour of free state nursery care for any parent who wants it, but we're a long way from that.
I was wondering whether...
There are some nurseries in the textile industry, and the unions do negotiate about childcare there, but that's an industry that really depends on women's labour. Unless there's organised action around it, the union wouldn't have any reason to take it up. It's like most things.
We have to do something first if we want the union to take it up.
How can you make people see the connection between better wages and providing daycare?
Very recently, I came across an essay by Laura Mulvey, which was mainly about the portrayal of women in cinema across the world. The essay inspired me to make a video essay series on the academic debates about the representation of female characters and roles in world cinema from an Indian perspective.
सबसे पहले तो मैं ये कहूँगी कि जितनी फिल्में हैं वो पुरुषों द्वारा, पुरुषों के लिए और पुरुषों के पक्ष को दोहराने के लिए बनाई जा रही हैं। और सबसे ज़्यादा जिस चीज़ से हमें तकलीफ़ होती है कि वो आज इस ज़माने में जब ज़माना बहुत बदल रहा है, उसी पुरानी घिसी पिटी तस्वीर को औरतों की को दोहरा रही हैं। औरतों को सिर्फ दो रूप में हमारी फिल्में देखती हैं, जैसा कि हमारा समाज देखता है। या तो वो देवी है, त्याग की मूर्ति है, या वो कुलटा है, पतिता है।
When contextualizing feminism in cinema, the idea is not to merely look at films as a cultural industry, but also to include its products, the films itself, the conditions in which certain films are produced, the nature of the production, and how it is received. This is what a feminist film theory attempts to do.
Wanted, smart, and attractive young woman to serve as a sales girl in a respectable firm.
What's wrong with using a little lipstick? You put red here, why not here?
Feminism and its interventions both in the West and India have majorly contributed in terms of providing a theoretical understanding of the significance of the cultural factors, particularly in the ways it ideologically constructs the category woman. This feminist film theory emphasized on how the manifestations of patriarchy and feminism do not work in a vacuum or a void. Therefore, it wouldn't be wrong to argue that cultural politics do not work in isolation but are equally influenced by ideologies of class, caste, or gender. Thus, if culture can fall within the ambit of ideology in terms of implications in constructing gender categories, it becomes a significant site to analyze and intervene in gender relations. Second wave feminism has been extremely influential in expanding the ways in which gender categories could be re-understood and theorized. Cultural politics was a new site found by feminists where the symbol and the category woman was being formulated. Images of the ideal woman was being bombarded in films, magazines, print advertisements, etc. Feminists found this problematic at two levels. One, it objectified women, and two, it created unattainable standards of being the perfect woman. The later problem was indeed facilitated by capitalists and the growing consumer market. Feminist film theory was also founded on the same criticism in history. Feminist film theory was extremely instrumental and influential in providing with an alternative feminist way to look at films. In her essay, Visual Pleasure and Narrative Cinema, Muvey argued that films should not be seen as merely an innocent form of entertainment. She proposed that a film should not be seen as a mere text, but we should consider how it is made, when it was made, who made it, and how it was received. Basically, an organic multidimensional approach to reading films. This essay marks the foundation of feminist film theory, and it is not possible to delve into film theory without introspecting about this essay. Laura Mulvey's essay was probably one of the most groundbreaking essays during the 1970s. The importance of reading Mulvey's essay lies in how, even though it was written 4 decades ago, its theory on film production is still very much applicable. It provides us with essential tools needed to understand film theory from a feminist perspective. That is precisely the charm of feminist film theory, that it has not been stagnant since its foundation and had adapted to new technologies as well as debates on gender.
How often have we all not warned the characters on screen when danger is near in horror films and thrillers? This happens because of the voyeuristic nature of films that allows us to take on these vicarious journeys. When young men and women engage with films, especially young women, we tend to look for points of references from our own lives and experiences. And when we do this, we often internalize all the messages subliminally. Over and over again, when we engage with skewed representations on screen, we take on the male gaze when the camera presents women as merely sex objects.